Democrats and Republicans are sparring over a proposal by Attorney General Jay Nixon that would reinstate many of the cuts to eligibility made to the state's Medicaid program in 2005. Dr. Sam Page, a state representative from Creve Coeur who is running for lieutenant governor, defended Nixon's plan.
We know that we have built up a surplus, we just don't know how much. It takes $265 million of state general revenue to restore those cuts. That's within our budget to do that. The first thing I would look at is a $95 million tax credit given to one person in St. Louis County, one developer. Those aren't the priorities. Restore the Medicaid cuts for people with disabilities, our seniors and our kids, or give one tax credit to one developer. That's an example of misguided priorities over the past 4 years.
How did you vote on that bill?
I voted for the whole economic development bill. I voted for the amendment to strip that out.
But Republican budget writers argue that Nixon's plan would require cuts in education spending, as well as a tax increase that would have to be voted on by Missourians. Senator Gary Nodler of Joplin, the chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, made that argument in an interview with the Tribune today.
It's about seeing the federal government as a revenue source to pay for these expansions, and doesn't seem to understand that that requires a state match. And the federal funding that he referred to would require $1.8 billion more in state spending to get there. He's left that number out of his assumptions. And so it's a flawed proposal that's based on a misunderstanding of the state's budget that would result in an immediate recreation of an unbalanced state
Some
budget.
Republican critics will say, well, you might have enough money to do it this year, but you might not have the money to do it in subsequent years. How do you respond to that?
We can't afford not to do it. We're paying $500 million out of general revenue just to pay for uncompensated care in Missouri. We're going to pay for this one way or the other. We're already paying for 60% of Jay Nixon's budget. We're already paying for 60% of his plan to restore the health care budgets in our taxes that go to Washington. Our federal taxes are going to pay for 60% of his plan. The money's already there. And it's being diverted to other states that have different priorities, more mainstream priorities in access to health care. So what we're trying to talk about is whether or not we're going to make that initial investment of $265 million to restore those cuts and draw down another $400 million in federal matching fund and stop this bloodletting of the uninsured.